about a non-Christian? Is that your
Yes.
question? Yeah, that's a good question.
If we are to love our neighbor, we love non-Christian neighbors also.
Right. Indeed. So I think,
But I don't think this is saying,
right,
loving your neighbor. I think it's just saying that because your Christian neighbor embodies Christ in a way, it's like your neighbor is sacrament. I don't think it excludes your non-Christian neighbor. I think it's just saying there's a special quality present in.
We're better than the non-Christian.
right. So I don't know about
I don't know if I'd say
Lewis's
better.
full argument about that. And I think it is kind of moving a little bit from what Seth wants to put us here, but the idea of, I don't think that Lewis is addressing a non-Christian at all in Hope of Glory.
Yeah.
Now, that could be a flaw. That'd be a good way to engage him and say, how would we say, how do we take the next step that Lewis didn't? But, yeah.
We have to think of the,
I love the first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That speaks.
when he wrote that, a lot more people were baptized. I mean, if you weren't baptized, you were almost ostracized. Now it's a very different environment. So.
We're all God's creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It really takes a long time. Neither the revelation of the local body nor the revelation of Christ in word and sacraments can rightly happen by an individual. It can't be revealed in the same way. Ritual action is necessarily communal, and the constituent members of the church cannot exist on their own. Just as the church is only revealed in presence together, the celebration of the Eucharist is necessarily communal. Through it, the earthly elements of bread and wine become heavenly food to sustain the bodies, minds, and souls of the baptized. The changed elements symbolize Christian transformation and are simultaneously a means by which the baptized are transformed into the likeness of Christ. So again, pulling on these two things, us being the body of Christ also being the sacrament, the transformation of the sacrament from ordinary to something more. And this is also our Christian transformation, closer to the likeness of Christ, but again, not, but still imperfectly.
Well, Western civilization has emphasized the importance of the individual. So it's interesting to see how this shows that the individual can only do so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
The sort of a Christian counter to our hyper individualism, that we can't exist as Christians apart from the body, the true revelation of ourselves and of Christ happen only when we gather. Just want to highlight some of the sub-functions beneath my sort of first assertion. The liturgy unites into one voice the local congregation through corporate action. There's all kinds of corporate action. Communal action, including prayer, confession, and proclamation, are the bedrock of the liturgy, but it includes less active kinds of engagement, including listening and watching. The metaphor of one voice has particular relevance to congregational singing. In singing, members of a congregation unite in a single sonic expression, aligning along rhythmic structures and often filled with harmony. The process is both heuristic and deeply symbolic.
Very cool.
Right.
What does heuristic mean?
Thank you. I was going to ask the same
I
thing.
did. Good.
What does heuristic mean?
So we something you learn in by the process of doing it.
Oh.
So by doing it and by engaging in it, you're formed by it. And we have a lovely photo.
Yep.
Look at us all.
And you can see us all engaged together in corporate action
Yeah.
with the blessing, you know.
Yeah.
But- Number 2, the liturgy communicates God's grace. This happens through the means of grace. Oops,
Huh.
Christian traditions vary on which practices are the means of grace, but can basically agree on the word and sacraments. These two categories correspond with the basic structure of the Catholic Eucharistic service. God is not limited to the means of grace, but they are the usual processes through which the Holy Spirit works to bless, forgive, and strengthen the Church. The dominical sacraments, those Dominus, the Lord, meaning the sacraments given to us by Jesus himself, which are baptism and Eucharist. The dominical sacraments are the high point of the Christian life. Baptism bestows God's grace and blessing at the beginning of one's Christian life, and the Eucharist grants continual forgiveness and strength during one's earthly sojourn.
I think this is a great point, Beth. You said the Western culture tends to individualize people beyond almost inhumane point. I think that it also tends to be a Western English tradition to separate the idea of a symbol being not tied to the thing it's symbolizing in certain cases. So I think one of the things that is so, like, it's just a symbol. This is, you could take it or leave it. This is just a symbol of whatever it's signifying. Whereas this is doing the opposite. It's putting those things, the thing that we're doing, the sign of it and the signified, making it very tight together.
Right, which is really the meaning of a sacrament. Not just the symbol, but it's an embodiment of the very thing itself. It's a combination, which is, of course, the whole mystery of the Eucharist and the mystery of baptism, the water and the Spirit, the bread and the wine, and the presence as well, presence of God. So I mentioned that there are different means of grace. So, traditionally, there's in Western Christianity, there are 7 sacraments, and some Episcopalians, Anglicans do recognize them and recognize all 7 sacraments. But we all can agree that the 2 most important ones, the dominical ones, the ones given by Jesus, Eucharist and baptism. In fact, the gospel today is where we hear Jesus say, "Go into all the world and baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." So that's, we have the Last Supper when Jesus says, "Do this in remembrance," and then you go and baptize. And then other sacraments that have evolved from the Church.
But
there
didn't
are
he
thousands of
also ask
sacraments.
us to forgive?
Sorry?
Didn't he also institute now it's called a sacrament of confession, but didn't he institute how important it is to forgive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually told his disciples, whoever you forgive in my name is forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
So that, he didn't include it as well.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the things we go through when we're in the liturgy?
Absolutely, yeah. So that could be considered a sacrament, and it's absolutely vital to the Christian life and the Christian liturgy.
So we were taught sacrament. The thing about a sacrament is your grace is bestowed when the sacrament is implemented. I mean, there's a special grace with that. So that was the teaching we got. So it's more than the 2. More than 2 sacraments.
Yeah.
There are 7.
Well, I mean, there are more than 7. I mean, there are thousands of sacraments. Really.
Well, I guess there could be, yeah.
I mean, we could say each individual sacrament.
But
an
then-
individual life is a sacrament.
Yeah, I agree with the idea, but then why have the word?
I would say sacrament is intentional.
Yeah.
So are human beings.
No, they're not. No, they're
Humans
not.
are intentional.
No.
We are walking sacraments. We are outward signs of human grace.
Mhm.
But there are these 7, that the church, the Catholic Church has identified as the domain of the church in particular that are elevated. But I just don't want to, there are only 7 sacraments.
You said outward sign of an inward grace,
Yeah.
and that's sort of the
It's the Kenny.
definition you're using both for these Catholic sacraments, but also a human.
I would say human is an
Outward.
outward and an inward grace.
Got it. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say that.
I mean, just theologically, I think the tradition is that the Roman Catholics talk about 7 sacraments, and the Anglicans, Episcopal Church have primarily 2. Because those are 2 that everybody seems to agree on.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of because we have, so much variety in our Anglican tradition and practice. So we have people who absolutely would speak of 7 sacraments, but not every Anglican Episcopalian clergy and laity would view it in that way. But just about everyone could agree, oh, these are definitely, Jesus said, do these things, and that they're really important. So, but again, the holies, by saying there are 2 or 7 or 15 or 1,000 sacraments, we can't limit the work of God. We can't contain. The church doesn't have a corner on where God works. God's Spirit works everywhere in ways we can't. The reason we have identified, the reason we say 2 or 7 or whatever, is because these are ways that God has told us God will be present. God will act and bring blessings and strengthen us in our sojourn. So that's why we can count on the sacraments as being places to go to look for God and to find God. And there are so many other places and ways to find God, not limited, but that's our Christian way.
Because we're putting this within the context of ritual.
Yes.
So it's the specific actions that we have as a tradition built up and focused on those particular actions. And part of those actions are that communication of divine life, the mode of receiving that in a sacrament.
Through the liturgy, Christians join in a greater community which breaks the bonds of time and space. And, I have this picture of a beautiful church.
It's St. Paul,
Is that?
but could be.
It kind of looks like it, but I've actually never been.
I have. I've walked around those windows up there too.
Yeah.
If that's
If
that's a very small. I'm sure
I know.
those paintings have been repeated and repeated and repeated in many, many.
Yeah, if
many
that's St. Paul's Cathedral, then that's a really good choice.
Yeah.
of image.
Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean that's something.
The artist up there on scaffolding painting those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing that if they die doing that, they're gonna go straight to heaven.
Yeah.
They're painting the inside.
Oh,
there you go.
Out there,
Yeah.
halfway to heaven there.
That's a pretty cool feeling, yeah.
Yeah, of course, beautiful art and architecture like this can remind us of this.
Yeah.
The spur on the spiritual imagination of what we can't see. So I mean, you have up there, images of saints and angels, stories from the Bible, other images to all things that implicate us in the Christian story, and all things that remind us that there's so much more going on than just what we're seeing in front of us.
Well, remember though, when those cathedrals were done like that, people didn't have books. This was their reading, if you will, the way they could read, imagine, have something fixed in their mind.
In the enactment of the liturgy, the baptized become ritually and mystically part of the Church Universal and all of creation which worships God. As memorably the Eucharistic prayer says, therefore we praise you, joining our voices with angels and archangels and all the company of heaven. The liturgy becomes a gateway into a liminal space which transcends the temporal and spatial realities of the specific congregation. This superlocal and eternal connection is an essential piece of Christian liturgical practice.
Well, it's just like when you go to a football game or a baseball game and everybody cheers, you have this communal gathering, but same thing. Liturgy does that, but with these wonderful words that focus you on something other than personal satisfaction.
Something that's always meaningful to me is what Seth pointed out, is right before we sing holy, 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 it says, with the angels, the archangels, and all the company of heaven. And so I'm like, my grandparents, you know, my cousin, my sponsor, these folks that are in heaven, they sing that differently, but I'm going to sing it now with them. So I feel like that's that breaks the bonds of time and space. For me, at least that's how it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And that can be one of the things that's so special about celebrating a Requiem Mass, for instance, is that sense of that through the ritual we are connected with all those before and all those to come. And that's
All Saints Sunday in particular brings that home, but
Yeah.
but we have that every single Mass,
We
right?
do.
It's at every
Mhm.
gathering,
Every
but
time.
it's great when you can really highlight that.
Yeah.
Bring that to the forefront.
Yeah.
Well, I like it when we sing it, and for that reason, I know there are people who say, oh, we're gonna sing, it's gonna take longer, and it really doesn't. But it's a wonderful
Extra 30
communal
seconds.
joining, it's a wonderful communal joining, whereas if everybody just says it, kind of like, okay, but when you sing it, it's
Yeah.
very special, so thank you, Seth.
I consider singing another sense. Because you're using your voice as well as your, you know, there's just another, something else that's happening to you.
Yeah.
And, liturgical singing, if it's good, you know, if the music is good, it really lifts you to heaven and makes all the difference between a so-so service where you had to really make an effort for it to be meaningful, and then a liturgy with really good singing. It just lifts you up, but with no effort. You know, the effort is in all the singers and the musician.
Ritual repetition, vital. Repetition creates patterns in memory, and when patterns, you can imagine deep grooves in people's souls.
Yeah.
There is no formation without repetition.
Yeah.
So we practice, right, Tanya?
Yeah,
exactly. It's like I put it in my book.
Yeah.
Great.
Very Aristotelian of you.
So deep groove, yes. So it is with spiritual formation.
You want that, why? Is it going to, are you going to post that online?
I could just send it to you. Lex credendi, lex orandi. Oh, it should be the other way.
Yeah, that's great.
That's fine.
Because it's a
The law-
circle.
It is a circle. Lex orandi, the law of prayer, the law of belief. So it should be they should be flipped. So this is saying that it is the life of prayer and the repetition of those rituals that creates our beliefs and form and that's something Anglicanism is often really associated with, in part because we don't go to the lengths of other denominations in terms of specificity of certain beliefs. But so often our unity is something that is created by uniformity of liturgy rather than uniformity of belief. We can worship together, and there can be differences of particular beliefs within that, but we're still united in our ritual, which is one beautiful way to deal with differences, and maybe even more so as as our society becomes more diverse, right? One idea, one pathway for that. Repetition deals with our memory, sensual and emotional, the senses that we, the smells, the sights, the sounds, the touches.
Yeah.
So I grew up with the Latin Mass, but I remember when it switched to English, and it switched to English, actually after one of my babies was born, and 6 weeks later I went back to church and there was an English Mass. But I remember about the Latin Mass though, when we visited our Italian family, we went to church, it was Roman, and the Mass was in Latin, and it was great.
Yeah.
The advantage of the Latin Mass. I'm sure there's still many people who argue that,
Sure. Yeah.
they've lost that ability just to go in and be right at home with that liturgy. Just saying.
It's a small chapel next to the school district,
Mm-hmm.
and the chapel is celebrated all service in Latin, facing to the altar.
Right.
It's very small, but that's still Catholic.
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Seth, what is the difference between ritual, ceremony, service?
And what?
Service.
Ritual or service? How can you define this? Thanks for explaining.
I remember going to a Latin mass with my father. Also, everyone seemed to understand what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
I still have
In
my
a way, the
Okay.
Latin made you listen more
Closer.
perceptively.
Hmm.
And the, everybody would repeat all of the Latin phrases.
I still have my missal that I got for my 12th birthday, and it's Latin and English. The whole thing, and it must weigh a pound, but it's a little zipper missal. But I still have it, and yes, and that was a big treat to have the Latin and the English all on one page. I didn't have to worry about anything. Of course, I knew it by heart by then
Was
anyway.
the purpose of the Latin mass that all over the world it was the same liturgy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could go to any
Mhm.
country.
And even that,
Particularly.
right, and even that typically it's back to the Tridentine Council, so the Tridentine Mass. Before that, there was still differentiation within the Western Church of different types of Latin structures, and then like you have different rites. So there were lots of times within Catholic or the Western Church where there's an attempt at unification, and then it kind of and then it diversifies a bit, and then bring it back unification, and then diversifies a bit. So the Latin Mass that we have with this is that Tridentine, which was the big council that was that anathematized Luther. So it was a kind of a.
I can give you a minuscule look at that. Some of it, there's so many beautiful settings of the Mass in Latin, with music. And we were talking about that over lunch one day with the music faculty, that we should do a Latin Mass in the Catholic Church. So we talked to the Catholic priest, and he was very much in favor of it. So a group of us, about 15 of us, got together and we rehearsed. We did wonderful Gesualdo Mass, setting of the Mass in Latin, and we loved it.
Yeah.
And I must say that the priest loved it. The congregation was angry. They did not like it at all. After all the years they spent trying to get to the language of the people into the Mass,
Sure.
they really objected to bringing Latin. into the service, and it was a very unexpected response to what we were doing.
Yeah.
Amazing, you know, just a minuscule moment.
Yeah.
Didn't change.
They just didn't like him, yeah. I don't want to lose Miguel's question. So the difference between like service, ritual, and ceremony, and I think in a way that is the category is a good way to put that. So you can have a service about multiple things, and I'll let you bring that. And then, and ritual it's even more formalized. It is more specific to a particular purpose. And then ceremony, and this is where our English usage kind of moves more amorphously, but the ceremonial aspects are stacked up to create a ritual, where a ritual contains multiple ceremonial elements.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense, because
Yeah, sure.
our Sunday service is a ritual,
Yeah.
but it's multiple parts of that ritual.
Yeah.
You have your readings, you have your consecration, you have.
And
your
then
communion.
in our
Russian
church,
dolls.
we have the ceremony, of, here at St. Mark's, we have the ceremony of Lenten blessing with ashes, and then the ceremony of, the Eucharist every week, you know, and, yeah, that's how.
Because it depends on how you use it too.
Yeah.
In some guidebooks, like even just the lavato, so the bowl of washing where the priest washes his hands, that oftentimes is linguistically called a ceremony.
Right.
It's just this little bit.
Yeah.
It's just this little piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the late English usage that ceremony, say a wedding ceremony, that's actually kind of stretching the intent of that word. There are many bits of ceremonies within that ritual of a wedding.
Yeah,
So,
You'll have
yeah.
you'll have a full liturgy with the blessing of the
Yeah.
bridegroom, and the same with baptism too.
Yeah.
And confirmation, which
If there are seven.
have your own.
One of the six.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
oh, what,
What
sacrament,
many?
the seven sacraments?
Tanya asked, is marriage a sacrament? If you're counting seven, it is.
Yes.
Why not?
I think Steph mentioned that why it ended up boiled down to two is that those were specifically ones that were mentioned, commands of, right?
Yeah, because there's a very compelling argument for a third dominical sacrament, which is washing one another's feet.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So some,
Yeah, I never thought of that as a sacrament, that's a ritual.
some,
Ceremony.
Well, well, but it is a direct
yeah,
command
it
of
is. So
Jesus.
there are some Anabaptist traditions that recognize foot washing as something vital that all Christians have to do because Jesus said to. So
They walked with bare feet
Yeah, of
in
course.
the dirt,
Yeah.
that's why he washed their feet.
Well, but you pick and choose. So that's the question.
So you could make a very good argument
Yeah.
that we all ought to be doing that. This last sentence is back to the lex orandi, lex credendi, this idea that is the liturgy, the law of prayer that forms the law or life of belief. Ritual actions generate meaning, and worship actions generate thought, reflections, and form belief, not the other way around.
Well, said.
Well, you know, the ritual brings you back, because nobody sits in, well, I don't sit in church and focus all the time. My mind wanders. Ritual brings you back. I'm sure, well, that's just me,
Yeah.
but my mind wanders.
Yep.
None of the rest of us have that issue at all.
Thanks for encouraging.
It's very much like meditation, you know, it's really the act of always bringing your mind back to what you were there.
And sort of the rituals, what are you talking about? I was thinking the rituals start early in the life of youngsters, ours anyway,
you know, we always said, I always remember every night getting down on my knees and saying the Lord's Prayer. And we did that with our children. But it's interesting to watch all the youngsters that come up for communion. And when they say the Lord's Prayer, not one of them is saying it with everyone. So I don't know what, and I know, Clint looks around sort of in amazement that none of the youngsters is saying the Lord's Prayer with everyone. So,
But I notice when the children go up to the altar, as we do,
yeah,
and they are all saying the prayer, even little bitty ones. I am just so impressed with that, and they're saying it absolutely together. I think they really get it when I mean, that group of kids.
Yeah, when they're
coming up.
participating.
that's
They're really paying attention.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
we kicked us off.
Yeah, switching to
There you go.
the other room now. Well, thank you for,
Thank you. Well, if you can tell, we're all really interested and would like to talk about this a lot
Yeah.
more.
we can go around and around and like, what is ritual, what isn't, or
Right.
what's happening.
How much more do you have to share with us?
Oh, I can share more.
Okay.
Just, I'll get on
Get on the
another
calendar.
forum of choice, so.
Yeah, well, we'll get him rescheduled. You know, he's got a lot going on Sunday morning, so it's not easy for him to, you know, between doing the 8:30 to 10:30 and the fire in between, it's not easy to get him on our schedule.